Great.
Hi. John. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Dear Prime Minister, Julian is being held in conditions of solitary confinement 23 and a half hours a day, and this is recognized as torture by the United Nations. We want you to ask for his immediate safety and freedom, or at the very least, Minister, that he be remanded on bail until the Australian government is able to mount a robust diplomatic intervention to secure Julian's eventual release. Prime Minister, we would also like to point out that Julian remains a very popular figure within Australia, despite smears and false information appearing in the mainstream press over many years. You might recall, Prime Minister, that Mr. Alan Jones did a poll asking should the Australian government attempt to help WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange avoid extradition to the United States. And the poll showed that 74% of Australians wanted you, Prime Minister, to intervene to help Julian avoid extradition. We wish to encourage you, Prime Minister, as our representative, to act on behalf of all decent people and officially stand up bravely and courageously for the freedom of Julian Assange. Please, Prime Minister, act decisively in working to bring an end to the persecution of this important, innovative and ethical journalist, Julian Assange. We will be signing this letter to the Prime Minister this afternoon, and I encourage every one of you to do so. Thank you.
Gorgeous man. Bravo.
Thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few words about Julian. Was served with a new indictment last week from the United States, which is an abusive process so grave that the entire case has become a fraud upon the courts. So we expect that the Australian government and Maurice Payne will write immediately to the United Kingdom Crown Prosecuting Service and ask them how this abusive process is going to be adjusted. Maurice Payne's last letter to me said that the Australian government will not allow any abuse of process in the Assange case. Well, I'm here to tell you now that the entire Assange case is a fraud upon the court and an abusive process. Thank you very much, and hope to see you here next week.
Thank you very much, John. That's John Shipton, that's Julian Assange's father, has graced us with his presence today. Thank you very much, John. Great support.
They want to silence Assange. He's been in effective captivity for nearly 10 years, trying to protect himself from a corrupt state that has the blood of millions of people on their hands. Millions of people. We're talking about public officials that have committed crimes, Western public officials that attempt to have equivalent to any dictatorship, any in the world, in history, man. Now this is a very grave and important matter, and he's a very innocent man, and every human being who believes in justice for the people better realize that if the people don't stand together against corrupt governments, they will crush us. They will stamp on us like ants. People have to stand up against, come out of the masses and stand up against government corruption.
It's only one decision.
No extradition!
It's only one decision.
No extradition! No extradition! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange!
are calling on the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Payne, for her urgent intervention on behalf of Mr. Julian Assange. Mr. Assange and his colleagues at WikiLeaks helped extend the power of investigative journalism and truth-telling into the digital age, exposing war crimes and human rights abuses to the public view. We are sure, Minister, that you would agree that government accountability and transparency are fundamental precepts of a healthy democracy. As a result of his work, though, Julian has paid a heavy penalty. Minister, we remind you that in May 2019, Professor Nils Melzer, the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, declared that Julian had been exposed to persistent, progressively severe abuse ranging from systematic judicial persecution and arbitrary confinement in the Ecuadorian embassy. Now his condition with this pandemic in Belmarsh prison has deteriorated. His health is severely compromised. He has not been well enough to attend these flawed proceedings against him. Assange is a publisher, a father of 2 lovely kids, as we saw recently in 60 Minutes. He's an Australian citizen. The Australian government has a legal and moral obligation to actively lobby the UK government to protect Julian's life. We request you, Minister, to make immediate and effective representations on behalf of Mr. Assange's family and him so that he be released immediately on bail. Thank you, Minister.
The citizens have to band together against corrupt public officials, or they will do terrible things to human beings. You know, we ought to be concerned about terrorism, but we also ought to be concerned about the cause of terrorism, which of course is political interventions by politicians. This is what kills people. Terrorist suicide bombers might kill people, a few people. Corrupt governments kill millions of people.
What we're here to talk about tonight is a good friend of all of us, Mr. Julian Assange, who's lying in a prison at this moment in Belmarsh, London. It's a maximum security prison. He has very few rights and he's been tortured. I'm sure he's got a lot of sleepless nights there, and I'm sure you've all had a lot of sleepless nights. Nights where you've woken up at 3 in the morning in a cold sweat wondering what you could have done better. Well, I can tell you one thing you can do better. You can change this government, or at least change this government's minds about how they treat our citizens, how they treat our journalists, how they treat our refugees, how they treat us. Because we are in a bad place. And unless we wake up, we are going to be destroyed from within by a government that's heartless, brainless, and without mercy. So that time in the morning at 3 when you wake up and think, what could I have done better? What could I have done to change my world or someone else's? And what you can do is get up and fight against this ugly government that cares nothing for journalism, cares nothing for media, cares nothing for freedom of speech. We have courts that are taking people in private and trying them. Even the governments of the states where it's going on aren't told. We are in a dire place. Let's fight now, or else we'll be dead soon. Dead in spirit, maybe not in person. We'll be able to walk around like we are now, but we'll have no real life, no real freedom. We're giving it away to a bunch of moguls who care nothing about us. Never did, never will. So let's fight. Let's get up and fight. So don't wake up in the morning at 3 in that sweat and think, what can I do? You can do it. We can do it. We are Australians. We are one. Let's do it, boys and girls, for our own people, for our own media, for our own freedom. Thank you.
Julian Assange is an Australian citizen being held illegally in a British jail under the Westminster legal system
He's a multi-award-winning Australian journalist, and he's being tortured psychologically. He's been in solitary confinement now for 23 and a half hours a day for 14 and a half months. This is an absolute travesty of justice, a barbarity. Our Prime Minister and our government are failing to act. They're failing in their duty to protect an Australian citizen. So we're here to remind them of this duty. And we're also putting signatures online. If you're interested in signing this online petition, please come forward. I implore you. We need 1 million signatures. And once we've got 1 million signatures, surely they can't ignore that. Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! No extradition! Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
How are his spirits?
Well, he's okay the last couple of days. He got a radio, it's shot, but the radio helps him.
John, you've been heroic. You really have. He's heroic, but you're heroic too.
And freedom, frenzy, since we've got the well of support has grown.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm Gong Steve on
Gong
Twitter
Steve.
and on YouTube.
Well, Steve, it's a privilege to meet you here tonight in this action to free Julian Assange from his torturers and persecutors.
This is our 31st town hall gathering. There's a very solid lot of people coming.
I think it works, actually. Yeah. Actions are great. So you do an action and you pump it out on social media. They're nice.
Okay? So, free, free Julian Assange!
Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Julian Assange!
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
There's only one decision!
No extradition! Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Julian Assange!
Thank you, John. Thank you.